EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and I'm still talking about Modern Horizons 3 here. I likely will be talking about it off and on for the next couple of weeks. There's a lot to talk about. I already talked about the Flare cycle that I think is going to be probably the most popular cycle and some of the most popular cards from the entire set. But there is a sort of land cycle. It's a land cycle, but it's MDFC lands. And that is the reason why it might be one of the most popular, groupings of cards. It's hard to tell with these things, but certainly there are MDFC lands here, two color cycle of MDFC lands that likely we could be seeing all over the format. And the reason why is because the front of most of them, and I'll go over a few here, I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm going to do a little bit of comparisons here, though. The front of most of them are very usable in a commander game, and the backs are two-color lands, which you want in most two-color decks. So just with regards to two-color decks, I'll talk about these, like Legion Stronghold. It enters the battlefield tapped, of course, and it gives you red and white mana, so you can put it very easily in your Boros deck. I just talked about how in a two-color deck, you should not be playing Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic Expanse, because any land that enters the battlefield tapped like this and gives you the two colors that you need is going to be better, because Evolving Wilds, even though it enters the battlefield untapped, gets you a land that enters the battlefield tapped. So you can't use it until your next turn, just like any of these lands. And on the front, it is a very usable spell. Legion Leadership, 1 and a Boros mana instant until end of turn. Double target creature's power and it gains first strike. That's a great spell that you could use in any deck. That is a very useful spell. And on the back is a two-color land. This goes in every Boros deck and maybe a whole bunch of 3-color and 4-color decks as well, I think. You would have to find a really good reason to not put this in your Boros deck, in my opinion, right? So as far as these lands go, I'm just talking about the two-color decks, for which, of course, there's a lot of those in the format. Any Boros deck is going to want this. Why not? Double target creature's power. I mean, you can even use that on your opponent's creatures. You can use it on your own, of course, but you can even, if you want to do a silly combat trick and, aha, kill that guy, even though he didn't think he was going to be dead or something like that, double their, commander damage or something like that. You could easily, this could really be a pretty fantastic gotcha moment in a lot of commander games, but, it's the land on the back. So why wouldn't you put it in there, right? There are some, like the blue-green version, which a little more niche, I would say. It, of course, is a blue-green land on the back, Drowned Jungle. I'm quite certain there is every two-color combination here available. On the back, though, or I guess on the front, I guess on the land side is the back. The creature side would be the front. 5 and 2 Simic mana, so 7 mana. You're not likely going to be casting this in a lot of games. It's an Eldrazi. It's a 7/6. It has one of the worst abilities ever made, Devoid. When you cast this spell, if colorless was spent to cast it, create 2/01 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice this creature, add a colorless. So, not great. Again, unlike the Legion Leadership, this one is not, I'm just not going to throw in any Simic deck, right? Because it really doesn't work in a lot of Simic decks, I don't think. Like, this is probably the worst of the bunch. It's a 7 mana creature. It is a 7/6. That's okay. It probably doesn't work in a lot of Simic decks, though. So this one, I think from what I've seen, this one's probably the ones that's going to be used the least. So not all of these are auto-includes, but a whole lot of them are. Like, Revitalizing Repast is probably the one that's going to be, again, I think it's an auto-include in every black-green deck. I don't know what the cost is going to be here. That's always a factor, of course. 1 hybrid Golgari mana, so just a green or black, instant. Put a +1 counter on target creature, gains indestructible in the turn. Every single commander deck wants to be doing that, right? Every single one. What commander deck doesn't want to, at instant speed for 1 mana, make one of their creatures indestructible? And if by some chance, you get it early in the game, or maybe you just want to make a land drop, Old Growth Grove on the back enters the battlefield tapped and gives you the black and green that you're looking for. So yeah, this for sure can go in any black and green deck, and maybe even some 3-color decks as well, right? You just think about the Scryland cycle, right? The temples. that a lot of people use. I used to use, I don't use them so much anymore because we're just getting so many better options like this. That is a land cycle that enters the battlefield tapped. Guaranteed, there is no option other than entering the battlefield tapped. So we're already on par here. What's the upside? You can scry 1. That's okay. It's not bad. I kind of like the scry 1 on turn 1. Outside of turn 1, it gets a lot less good. An instant speed spell that gives me a counter on my creature and gives it indestructible seems way, way better than a scry 1, right? So these are, I mean, if you're still playing the Temple series, these are just far, far better. Strength of the Harvest is the white-green version. 2 and a white-green hybrid mana. It's an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each creature and or enchantment you control. That seems kind of specific, I guess, but not really. Every white-green deck is going to be playing either enchantments or creatures, likely. So it's just a nice little buff on one of your creatures. I happen to have a deck where this is absolutely a slam dunk, funny enough. And again, on the back, just a white-green land that you're going to want in your deck anyway, right? So that's probably, I mean, this one isn't as much of an auto-include as Legion Leadership or Revitalizing Repast, both of which I think could go in any deck of that color. This is pretty good though, right? Stump Stomp is the Gruul one. 1 and a Gruul mana, so red and a green. Sorcery, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Again, a fight effect. There's probably thousands and thousands of commander decks already that want to be doing that, but every deck could be using that. That could be pretty decent removal in just about any commander game. And on the back is a green and red land. So again, this is another one that for me, I'm thinking, what reason would you not put this in a Gruul deck if you had one? Other than possibly the price. By far the best, I think, is Waterlogged Teachings. And this one I got spoiled on my Discord, when it got leaked like a month ago. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, wait, doesn't this go in every single Dimir deck? Again, outside of like a Grixis deck maybe or something, maybe as probably as well. But every single Dimir deck is going to want this because, of course, it's just that land inundated archive that enters the battlefield tap and gives you both your colors, which that's fine. It's not great that it enters battlefield tap, but it is giving you both your colors. And on the front, 2 and a hybrid Dimir mana, instant. Search your library for an instant card or a card with flash, reveal it and put it in your hand and shuffle. So it's a tutor on the front. You have a 2-color land that on the front is a tutor. I mean, it only gets instants or cards with flash, but obviously that can cover a lot. Worst case scenario, you could get a removal spell with it or a counter spell, right? I mean, this is an easy slot into every Dimir deck. And again, probably like the Grixis decks too that are doing, more of a spell slinger theme, probably are really going to want it as well. But for sure, every Dimir deck, like this land cycle is pretty ridiculous. I would say there's 1 or 2 I've seen that the front side is not great and you're probably not going to use it. So you might want to stay away from them. Like the Simic one's not great. There's a couple. The Is It one is kind of a little weird, but outside of that, this is a land cycle that can go in pretty much every 2-color deck. You can easily take out your Evolving Wilds if you have that in your 2-color deck because it shouldn't be in there. Or you could take out the Scrylands, right? If you have those, because all of these are far better. They're going to give you, most of them, I guess, I shouldn't say all, most of them are going to give you an effect that's far better than just Scry 1. So these are, again, some more very seemingly like auto includes, very chase cards that likely, I mean, hard to say how expensive they're going to be, but we're certainly going to be seeing them a ton in the format, and you certainly could put them in just about any 2-color deck you have. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think of this new, pretty crazy 2-color land cycle. That is it for today, though, and thanks for tuning in.